Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the most exclusive, expensive, and sometimes controversial machines on the planet. Today, we are looking at a vehicle that stands at the very intersection of high-class luxury and aggressive aftermarket styling. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan has, since its debut, established itself as the undisputed king of the luxury SUV world, or, as the folks at Goodwood prefer to call it, a high-bodied crossover. It is a vehicle that commands respect and an enormous bank account, straight from the factory floor.
But for some, the standard level of opulence just isn't enough. There is a thriving world of high-end tuning, where these British behemoths are transformed into something much more muscular and menacing. The example we are discussing today, recently featured in a prominent automotive spotlight, is a pre-facelift Cullinan that has undergone a significant visual transformation, and it is currently looking for a new home for what many would consider a pretty penny. When you first lay eyes on this particular Cullinan, it is immediately clear that the tuning fairy has paid a very extensive visit. The most striking change is the addition of a comprehensive wide-body kit that completely alters the vehicle's road presence. In its stock form, the Cullinan has a certain dignified, upright elegance, but this modified version swaps that for pure aggression. It features massive fender flares that have been blended into the bodywork, giving it a significantly wider stance and a more planted look. This isn't just about width, though. The front end has been redesigned with a fresh lower bumper section that sits closer to the asphalt, paired with side skirt attachments that visually lower the car's profile. At the back, the transformation continues with a new rear diffuser that looks like it belongs on a track-focused machine rather than a luxury cruiser, alongside a double spoiler setup featuring one wing at the top of the rear windscreen and another spoiler integrated into the tailgate. Finished in a crisp white paint, the exterior modifications are highlighted by the contrast of the aftermarket components. Interestingly, the car has managed to retain its spirit of ecstasy while embracing this more extroverted personality. Large, multi-spoke wheels fill out those expanded arches perfectly, though the article suggests that such a setup, combined with a lower ground clearance, likely results in a ride that is a bit firmer than the legendary magic carpet ride Rolls-Royce is famous for. For many buyers in this segment, that is a trade-off they are more than willing to make in exchange for a look that stops traffic and dominates the valet stand. Stepping inside this luxury fortress, we find a cabin that is just as bold as the exterior, though it appears to have stayed true to its Rolls-Royce roots. The interior is bathed in a striking blue leather upholstery, which is a departure from the more traditional tans and blacks we often see. This vibrant blue is contrasted with white inserts, creating a nautical or high-fashion aesthetic that feels very much at home in a vehicle of this caliber. What is particularly interesting is that the interior seems to remain mostly stock in terms of broming. The headrests and the steering wheel still proudly display the interlaced RR logo rather than a tuner's emblem, which suggests that the original owner wanted to maintain that factory prestige while opting for a bespoke color palette provided by the Goodwood factory's extensive personalization program. It is a space designed for ultimate comfort, featuring glossy black trim and chrome accents that remind you that despite the aggressive exterior, you are still sitting in one of the finest motor cars ever built. Under the hood, this Cullinan remains a masterpiece of engineering. It is powered by the iconic 6.75-liter twin-turbocharged V12 engine. While the article notes that there's no mention of a power boost, the stock figures are already quite formidable. In this standard configuration, the V12 produces 562 brake horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque. This is a massive amount of oomph, enough to propel this 2.7-ton luxury lounge from a standstill to 62 miles per hour in just a little over 5 seconds. If it were the black badge variant, those numbers would climb to 592 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque. But even without the extra boost, the V12 provides a silent, effortless surge of power that defines the Rolls-Royce driving experience. It isn't about raw racing speed. It's about the feeling that you have an infinite reservoir of power under your right foot, ready to whisk you away at a moment's notice. Now, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the price. The vendor is asking $379,995 for this tuned masterpiece. For that amount of money, you could buy a very nice house in many parts of the world, or perhaps a small fleet of more conventional luxury cars. However, in the world of Rolls-Royce, this is what we call a pretty penny that actually makes some sense for the right buyer. The car comes with a clean title and has roughly 13,000 miles on the odometer.
Given that a brand new, completely stock Cullinan can easily push past the $400,000 mark once you start ticking the options boxes, getting a low-mileage example with a full wide-body kit and a custom interior for under $380,000 might actually be seen as a bargain by some enthusiasts. Of course, the big question is whether you like it. Tuning a Rolls-Royce is always a polarizing topic. To the purists, any modification to a vehicle from Goodwood is a form of sacrilege, an unnecessary tampering with perfection. They would argue that a Rolls-Royce should be understated, elegant, and timeless. On the other side of the fence, you have the new generation of luxury buyers who see these cars as canvases for self-expression. To them, a stock Cullinan is just the beginning, and a wide-body kit with a blue-on-white interior is exactly how you make a statement in 2026. This car commands attention, and it commands a high price to match. Whether it's worth nearly $380,000 is ultimately up to the person who wants to be seen behind the wheel. It is a machine that refuses to be ignored, blending the pinnacle of British craftsmanship with the boldest trends in modern automotive styling.
As the sun sets on the era of V12-powered luxury SUVs in favor of electric successors, machines like this Cullinan will likely remain highly sought after by those who crave the roar of 12 cylinders and a look that is anything but ordinary. So, would you put this in your garage, or is it a bit too much for your taste?